All right, howdy guys. This is Josh here with another Leetcode question. So today we're doing Leetcode question number 1844. Replace all digits with characters. You are given a zero index string S that has lowercase English letters in its even indices and digits in its odd indices. There's a function shift C X where C is a character and X is a digit that returns the X character after C. For example, shift A, char A, and then int 5 equals F, and then shift char X, 0 equals X. For every odd index I, you want to replace the digit SI with shift SI minus 1 and SI. Return S after replacing all digits. It is guaranteed that shift SI minus 1 and SI will never exceed Z. All right, so this one's, this is marked as easy. It's a pretty easy one. I'm gonna go ahead and fling a like on in like that. Yeah, so here we have the example here. So this is the character, and then this is how many characters after the first character that we want to give. So one character after A is B, and then one character after C should be D, and then yeah, as you see here, E, and then F. So yeah, so the way this is gonna be my solution. It's not like the most fastest one, but this helped me learn about ASCII digits kind of a bit more, because whenever I do these Leetcode questions, I always see people type this. They'll do like an equation. So like we'll do like result plus equals S SI, and then I'll always see this like minus char 0. And I always wondered like what this minus char 0 represents. And so, yeah, so today, in case you're new to Leetcode or you're curious about like doing this question, this is pretty much my answer, and this is how I solved it. So first, let's go ahead and make this variable here, or this function, the shift function. So we want to return a char, as it says here. So we want to have two parameters. So we want to have shift, and then we want to have the first parameter be a char, and then the second one be an integer. So we're not going to do anything too crazy here. We'll just call it shift, and then char A. Well, we'll do char C actually, and then integer number. And then here, it's fairly straightforward. So in my last video, we talked about ASCII characters, and the same applies for this question here. We're going to want to know how to convert a char variable into like an integer. So here we go. So we could just do this, C plus number. All right, so for those of you that didn't see the last video, let me go ahead and write this. It's gonna be a quick little edit here. Okay, now we're back. So I went ahead and create this variable called ASCII, and we're sending it to the representation of a char. So on the surface, you'd think, if you're new to programming, you'd think, oh, okay, well, shouldn't it be this? Like, shouldn't our variable be like something like this? Shouldn't it be a char? But actually, all characters in programming are actually number representations using using ASCII. And so what we can even do here, we can set char to 90, which we'll do ASCII too. I don't remember exactly what result this brings out, but we'll find out in a second. Let's see, I did something wrong here. ASCII 2 undefined. It's because I added 2 C's instead of 2 I's. That's unfortunate. So I guess I'll make this a bit clearer. Okay, so when we hit run here, as you see, we don't get any errors. I should have used endline, that sucks. So as you can see here, we have 97, and this is the integer. So the integer representation of the A char, or A character, is 97 in ASCII. And then for the actual character, the number 90, the number 90 represents the letter Z. Here, alright, I made a brief edit here just to make it a bit easier to read. Added the end line here. But as you can see here, 97 is the ASCII representation of the A character. And as you can see here, this is the char variable. So ASCII 2, 90 is the representation of the letter Z. So with this knowledge, what we can do is we can make this function here where it's char, where it returns a char, and then we just simply add the character plus the number. So this number here is going to be pretty much the equivalent of right here, s.i, and this should be the placement of the string, which is here. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go into our main function here. We'll do string result equals, we'll just make it blank for now. Just initialize it blank. So since we have to go through a list of characters, we want to, whenever you have to go through something, always keep in mind, like, okay, we have to do either a for loop or a for each loop. For us, it's better to do a for loop here because it pretty much tells us here that we're going to want to use the wherever we're at in the loop. We want to keep track of wherever we're at in the loop, and it's easier to do that with a for loop instead of like a for each loop. So let's do, we're not going to do anything too crazy here. So I is less than s.size, and then I plus plus. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to make an integer. We're going to do number, and we're going to set this to si minus 0. So you're probably wondering, like, okay, well, why are we doing this? Why are we subtracting minus by 0? So the reason why we're doing this is because, remember this ASCII equivalent that we have? So what's happening is when this function gets called, it's going to take the character and it's going to take the ASCII equivalent of that character, the number, and it's going to add this number to it. So the reason why we're going to subtract 0, we're actually subtracting the character representation, the ASCII representation of 0. This is pretty much a quick way to convert a char data type into an integer data type. So now what we do is we just do an if statement here. So if s.i, oops, we'll do si modulus. So the modulus operator, pretty much the remainder of whatever this is, if it's, as long as it's not 0, or if it's not 0, what we want to do is we want to have result plus equals shift, and then want to do our I minus 1, and then number. All right, and then we want to do else, and then for the else statement, we just do plus. We just go ahead and add whatever's in the string. We just add it to our result variable, and then from there, all we do is just return our result. So to recap, we went ahead and made a new function called shift, pretty much copying the parameters required on this sentence here. So we have one character, and then we pretty much, what we're doing is we're adding the ASCII representation of these together. And so what this will do is this will give us the alphabetical number or alphabetical representation in the char format. So then we made that, and then we went ahead and, create a variable in memory so we can store our result, create a for each loop since we have to iterate through all the characters in the string. And so the reason why we put this here, so we have si minus char 0. We do this because this is actually a char representation of an ASCII number. So whatever character this is, the si is, so let's say a, we're going to subtract char 0 from it to get the integer representation of this number. So, and then what we do is we could run our if statement. So if I modulus 2 does not equal 0, so this pretty much checks if the I is even or odd. So if it's even, this is going to return 0, but if it's odd, it's going to return a number that's greater than 0 or anything other than 0. And so once it does that, then we know that it's an odd number. And then we go ahead and rerun our function here, our shift function that we made. And then anything else, it just gets returned as the string that's already present. So like for example, A. So since A is in the 0th position, this will probably return 0. And so we just do the else, and then we'll just do, it'll just return the A character. So if we run this, we get accepted. And yeah, and then that should be all she wrote. Yep. So yeah, hopefully guys, you found that helpful. Yeah, it's definitely not the, it's not the cleanest of solutions, but this is what I came up with. The time complexity for this should be O of n, because we're iterating through all of pretty much iterating through every single character in the string function. And so the bigger that the string parameter that gets fed into it, the more time it's going to take. So it's going to be O of n. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you found it helpful. Adios. Bye.